groundbreaking, innovative, pioneer, a woman. This is my review for Roxanne Roxanne. And let me say, this is a story that I'm glad has been told, and I'm glad that Roxanne is finally getting her just due. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and welcome back to KRS TV. And this is my review over the movie Roxanne Roxanne that's on Netflix. This movie actually, you know, was very groundbreaking at the Sundance Film Festival, and now it's on Netflix. And you know, shout out to my brother Cal Stallings. He was the one who actually, you know, told me about this movie, and he said that because as soon as he mentioned Roxanne Roxanne, I immediately knew it was Roxanne Shante, and I was like, yeah, you know, he said that, yeah, it was really good. And I even say that this was an excellent film. I wish it was longer though, but at least it gave us a good glimpse into one of the pioneers of hip-hop. You know, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, none of them would be in the game if it wasn't for Roxanne. I mean, if it wasn't for Roxanne Shante being the groundbreaking artist. And on top of it, she proved how much of a genius she was because she made her move in the game at the age of 14. You know, while girls was going through puberty, she was pretty much one of the hardest rappers in a male-dominated industry. And in this movie, we really get a glimpse of her life, and we really actually see all of the trials and tribulations she had to go through being one of the first female rappers. How her coming out of, you know, Queensbridge, and due to the fact that she had somewhat of a broken relationship with her mother, how it led her to make certain decisions that could have ended her life. But with her perseverance and with her street smarts, she was not only able to change the direction of her life, but yet she still today is seen as a hip-hop legend and is respected by millions around the world. They had a great cast within this movie. The girl who played Shante Adams, she did an amazing job playing the role of Roxanne Shante. I mean, she really connected with the character. But I have to say, I take my hat off to my girl Nia Long. For those who follow my channel, I recently just reviewed Nia Long on her episode of Uncensored that comes on TV One. Oscar. Oscar, 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 Oscar. That's all I can think of when I think of Nia Long in this role as Peggy Good. Yo. And the funny thing about it, me and my big cuz Chief Hits was just talking about this before we got on film. We were saying that, look, it was more of the fact that it wasn't her meanness, but it was the looks, the stare, you know, the way she cried, you know, the way that she said things. We definitely said that, yeah, we know that character. We've had that character throughout our life. And she played it well. Like, I've never seen Nia Long in a role like this. To the point that she literally had me at the edge of my seat like, oh my God, mama, what you gonna do next? Because we seen that Roxanne is the eldest of four girls. We seen that her mother really went through a lot of hardship, but she loved her kids. And she was hardest on Shante because Shante was the oldest. And being in a single family, I know what that's like being, you know, being the eldest. You know, it was just me and my brother most of the time growing up between my mom. So yeah, the oldest child is gonna have it the hardest because you don't have that other parent. You kind of grow up fast. And I kind of saw that with Shante as well. You know, Roxanne is that, you know, even though she was only 14, it was like she was a 22 or 23-year-old woman. She was way advanced beyond her years. Even to the point that she didn't even find boys her age attractive. Because that's how advanced she was. And sometimes when you kind of grow up in that hard life, you're kind of forced to grow up quick. But sadly, you miss out on a lot when that happens. And we've seen that happen with Roxanne. And we literally see that even though she was hard on her daughter, she did love her. She loved her children because we actually seen in this movie, like, she had this boyfriend who they were supposed to be moving out to get a house. She saved up $20,000 from cleaning people's toilets, from watching kids, doing everything she had to do to get up out of the hood because she wanted to provide a better life for her children. And she trusted that this man had her back because she loved him. Tell me, on the day that they got the whole house packed up, the motherfucker ran off with the money and didn't come back. Now, that broke not only the family, but it broke them individually as well. Because Peggy, from that point, became an alcoholic. So therefore, Shantae no longer had her mother. She no longer had that parental figure. So she went out in the streets looking for that. And sadly, we know the reality of the streets. The streets are unmanageable, and the streets love nobody. So we see that she ends up, you know, becoming this big star. You know, Molly Mars, you know, discovers her. You know, she's about to do her laundry. She gets in there and says, I want to, you know, to do this beat. Because we see that she's notorious in her hood. She slays everybody with her you know, with her raps. I mean, and this is the birth of battle rapping, you know, which is another element of hip hop, and she was the queen of it. You know, any dude you put in front of her, she will annihilate them, whether young or old. That's how vicious she was. And it was funny because in the beginning of the movie, we see her and her mother walking in the courtyard, and the guy challenges her, and she asks her mother, like, Mom, can I cuss? She says, I don't care as long as you win that $50. I was like, that's what's up, Mom. So she, from day one, her mother did have faith in her career and had faith in her ability. She knew her daughter was talented, but they were dealt so many blows that broke them as a family. We see that, you know, at 14, Roxanne Roxanne by UTFO was on the radio. Roxanne Roxanne, dun dun. That used to be my shit. I just love that track. Marley Mars brings her up and says that, look, you know that song? And she's like, yeah, I know it. She's like, okay, I'm gonna use the same beat, and I want you to spit on it. She literally, in one take, gives us Roxanne's Revenge. In one fucking take. That is genius. I would pretty much put Roxanne Shantae in the same category as Sammy Davis Jr. and Michael Jackson. You know, these were like child prodigies that were like true geniuses of their craft. And in one take, she annihilated UTFO. And this created a series of albums that were like battle raps, you know, involving UTFO, Sparky D, you know, her female nemesis. The two of them had some great fucking classic tracks. And there were over like 25, I think 25 up to 80 tracks involving Roxanne. And she became notorious because if you missing Roxanne, Roxanne is gonna answer. And always, she showed up and she showed out. We really see that at the age of 14, she gets taken into the industry, but because at first she did have this guy who was like a bodyguard and was kind of like somewhat of a parental guardian to her, but he gets locked up. So after that, she had nobody protecting her because the guy that she ends up with, Cross, who was like, I think like 18 years her senior, you know, because she at the time, I think when she first met him, she was 14, but they didn't get together until she was 16, 2 years later. But we see when he first tried to come on to her, oh boy, you know, got in the middle of it. It's like, oh no, she's too young. You need to back the fuck away. You know, he saw him from a mile away, the kind of dude he was. But Roxanne, being young, being completely open, you know, being very smart, but yet naive to how men are in the streets. So being naive to that, and she's looking for, you know, that acceptance. Cross knew that. He knew her naivete, and he played off of it. You know, and he kind of did it like, you know, like the way a pimp grooms a prostitute. You know, in some way, you kind of like give them the treatment. You know, you buy them furs and you take them out on fancy dinners and you make them think that you love them, and then you flip it on them once you know you got their heart. And that's exactly what he did to her. We actually see that, you know, not only is that going on, that she's being like literally, you know, controlled and beaten up, kind of like Tina Turner style by Cross, but then also she has a manager who is robbing her blind. And the guy that played him, he's a good actor. He actually played Papo in She's Gotta Have It from Netflix. Love that series. I also reviewed that as well, so check that out. I love this character, but in this one, I wanted to shoot him in his face. That's how much he disgusted me on how he like literally was pimping her out. I mean, if you think about it, you know, she wasn't considered any royalty to him because he kind of used her as a gimmick. You know, one, she's young, she can spit. He didn't actually respect her as the genius that she was, and didn't fully compensate her because she was going on tour. She was traveling all across the country to sell out crowds. She should have been able to take her family out of the hood alone by the time she was 14 or 15 years old. But yet, she was getting paid peanuts by her manager, you know, and she didn't have, and if anything, Roxanne even talks about this, how, you know, at the age of 14, you know, you signing autographs and you signing contracts, you don't know the difference between the two. I was only 14 years old. I didn't know the business, and due to the fact that she didn't know the business and she didn't have someone on her team that knew the business, she was taken advantage of. I mean, because they showed a scene where, you know, this asshole comes out and says that the money got stolen when he was in the bathroom, so he didn't have the money to pay her. But he had the money to pay Marley Marl and had the money to pay everybody else, but didn't pay her. And she goes the fuck off. And I love that scene because Sparky D, you know, the arch nemesis that she always rapped against, came together and said that, look, we know what these pigs are doing, and it's fucked up. But at the end of the day, we still we may beef, we may be going after each other, but we sisters at the end of the day, and she puts money in her hand. I damn near broke down with that shit. Because it kind of showed right there that, yeah, they realized that, look, we are women in this male-dominated industry, but we got to stick together and change the game. We literally see that being Roxanne Shante should have actually created a better life for her, but instead, it did the opposite because she gets hooked up with Cross, and we had this good scene between Cross and her mother. Oh, Miss Penny did not lay off. She went in on his ass. It was like, she's only 16. You a nasty motherfucker. I was gripped. I was like, you better get his ass. He did tell the truth that obviously she was a broken woman. And she was broken by the fact that the man she loved robbed her. You know, but then again, she loved her daughter. But was not in a good state to be the mother because of her alcoholism. She pretty much, she's like, so what's going on, Shantae? You trying to be so damn grown that you got up with this old ass man? He damn near my age. And we see that she had a choice to choose her mother or choose to go with Cross. She chose Cross, and unfortunately, that was a bad decision. The only good that came out of that was her son. He was beating her ass left and right, even to the point that he put her in the hospital, and it was when she was hospitalized, literally with broken ribs, that's when her mother finally came around. And we kind of saw that after that whole situation involving her mother and Cross is when her mother decided to stop drinking. So even though the mother stopped drinking, there was still some tension between them, but it wasn't until she got hospitalized and she realized that her negligence led her daughter down the wrong path. And she, and Shantae herself admits, when you took that first drink, I lost my mommy. And I've been trying to search for you ever since. And I went out here trying to find you, and all I want to be is a little girl again, which was a very tearful scene. And we finally seen that finally, mother and daughter finally come back together. She finally got the strength to leave Cross. But Cross proved the type of dirty motherfucker he really was. So when her mother said that he was a nasty motherfucker, she was on the money. She hit the nail on the head. Because what he ends up doing is because, you know, he tried to lure her back and she said she's not coming back. All she wanted was her son. And we actually see her best friend was like her hype person from day one. And even when she fell, that friend was still there because Roxanne never forgot where she came from. Which is another reason why I respect her. Because she never got to the point where she got so big, she forgot the ones who was rocking with her. And her best friend, you know, the champ is here. I was loving her. She was so awesome. Like, she was like the first original hype girl. And she helped Roxanne, you know, become who she is. Like, because even as kids, there was this boy that always kept trying to come at her. You know, this little raggedy ass little boy. You ain't shit, Shantae. You ain't shit. And then all of a sudden she turned and started spitting at his ass, and he looked shook as hell. And I'm like, sit down, little boy. You don't want none of this. And because he kept trying to challenge her, and she had already beat him before, but he still was still trying to come forward. And you know, her friend always had her back. She was like, look, she already beat you, and she'll beat your ass again because the champ is here. And I love that about her. And we kind of saw that there was a moment where she started to go on tour, and her friend couldn't go with her, but she let her know that, no, I still rock with you. You was my first hype man. I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for you. So I'm always going to hold you down. And we see that during this hard time, after her being recrossed, that friend was still there. We see that she literally went out of her way to, because her friend was the one who told her that, look, you need to talk to him because this is your son. You can't leave your son with his ass. You need to try to get your son back. And when she called Cross not only told her that she wasn't shit and that he should have been even more abusive towards her, but then lets her know that if she wants her son back, she got to pay him $10,000. So we see the kind of person that Shantae is, because she's like, okay. So what she does is that she gets a guy to draw up a contract. She actually gets, and also she gets, you know, a friend of hers who she used to hustle with, you know, when she was like 14 or 15. He almost raped her, but he stopped himself. And she actually helped him make a lot of money too. You know, he gave her a place to stay, and she had to pay him $50 and put it in a jar every month. And she did faithfully. So even though he had damn near crossed that line, he came back around at a time when she really needed him. And he was like, look, we can have old boy swimming in the river by the end of the night, and you can keep that $10,000. You ain't got to worry about this shit. Because he said that, look, I ain't forgot how the way you... He says that, yeah, I was fucked up what I did to you, but you always had my back and you always looked out for me, so I got you. Just say the word and I'll off this nigga. And she was like, I can't do that. And it goes to show that she's a good person. Even though that person gave her hell and really put her through some shit, she wasn't going to become evil like him. She was going to be the bigger person. She said, and besides, he was still the father of her child. So she goes, she gives him the money, makes him sign the contract. So we see that she's gotten wise since she left Cross. And even Cross like, oh, you coming with papers now? I'm like, hell yeah. I was with that because it showed that she grew as a woman, and at that moment she got her, you know, she gave him the money, made him sign off parental rights, so she got the rights to her child. And he put the child in ours, and then he still tried to play that damn devil's advocate shit. You know you always gonna be mine. But she kind of gave that look like never again. And we seen that once she got her mom back, she was able to free herself. And once she got clarity of who she was, she actually was she was able to rise from the ashes again. I mean, at first I was hoping that they were going to show more at the end, but one thing I definitely liked that they showcased was the rise of Nas. And Nas was a huge fan of Roxanne Shantae. And Nas has actually come out and said that what was depicted in this movie was exactly how it happened. You know, we saw Nas, like, he's like maybe 8 or 9 years old at the time. He's like trying to tell Shantae, I want to rap, I want you to hear me. And she says, okay, spit. And at the time, he was nervous, but she says, okay, I'm going to tell you what. The next time I see you, you better have a rhyme for me, or I'm going to fuck you up. And and we see towards the end of the movie, she runs into him. You know, his name is Nasir, but by the time she sees him a second time, he's now going by Nas at a young age, you know, growing up in Queensbridge. And she says, yeah, I want to hear your rhyme. Remember, I told you I'm going to fuck you up, right? So come on. And he spits the illest rhyme about her, about, you know, his admiration of her, you know, R-O-X-A-N-A-E. I was like, you better get that shit. And she was like, oh, hype. She's like, okay, I see you. That was good. And we see that, yeah, Nas is a part of the family of Roxanne Shantae. She helped break down the door for him because by her being who she was at a young age, inspired him to be an MC. as well as many others, but definitely he had an inspiration right there in the hood with him. So that was amazing to see. But yeah, I wish that they would have showed more about how Roxanne's life turned out, because she's a hip-hop legend. She speaks at a lot of panels. She still tours around the country and around the world. She's still a force within hip-hop, and all the likes, you know, pay her homage, like Queen Latifah, you know, MC Lyte. They all pretty much say that, you know, Roxanne Shante is one of the geniuses of hip-hop. And this movie showcased, even though through all of her hardships and all of her, you know, trials and tribulations, she rose above it. And she's even a greater person because she didn't allow her current situations or current setbacks get in the way, because we can easily get thrown off and we never come back. She's one of those people that's groundbreaking, because she came from nothing and she made something out of it. And it's an inspiration to me, because I'm trying to do the same myself. I can also kind of say that even for myself, I kind of had a similar situation, not like hers, but due to the fact that because I didn't have that father figure, I was always going outside of myself to find acceptance, because I had a wealth of a mom. But then again, due to the fact that I was the oldest, I grew up too fast. When I tried to go out in the world and do my own thing, I kind of got caught up in some shit, even to the point that I joined a cult and didn't realize it. You know, but I thank God that I'm still here. You know, that I made it out. I think the real moral of her story is that you can make mistakes, but you only fail when you choose not to get back up. So that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything about this movie, put it down in the comments, or give me your thoughts about this film. I love to hear you guys. Get down in those comments. I love to hear your thoughts. Subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow all of my links in my description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. This was a groundbreaking film, and I'm definitely going to be keeping my ears to more things coming up on Netflix. So until next time, everybody, take care.